Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Infinite Crypto Cruisers. Hey there, folks. This is Brad Varnell. This is the Infinite Crypto YouTube channel. It is Monday morning, August something. August what? 18th, 19th? I guess it's the 19th today of August. And I am excited to be with you. And I'm going to jump right in to a quick story that I think illustrates what I want to talk about today, unlocking the prison of your mind. So let me just jump right into it. We'll come back to the comments. I do want to say thank you to each and every one of you that is here this morning. I love you guys. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. I definitely did. And so let's get right into it. You know, long time ago, there was this village, and it was in a war. And unfortunately, this village lost this war. And all of the men and the children, the sons, the men were all imprisoned, but they were, basically imprisoned inside of the same community where this war, took place. And along came four philanthropists. The name of this story is The Four Philanthropists. So these four philanthropists came along, and they felt badly for these men and sons that were living in this prison, and they felt like they wanted to fulfill their destiny in life. They had done very well in life, and they wanted to do something for other people and fulfill, their mission in life. And so the first philanthropist found out that these men were sleeping on dirt floors, on rocks, just totally uncomfortable, that they couldn't sleep, that it was miserable living conditions. And he went to the prison and said, hey, I would like to buy everybody in the prison a mattress and a pillow so that they can at least live in a little bit more comfort, have a little bit of comfort with this mattress and this pillow. And surprisingly enough, the prison agreed. And so this very wealthy man bought all of these prisoners mattresses and pillows so that they could sleep better. And when he was all done, he felt very good, and he felt like he had, fulfilled his mission, that he had done what he set out to do. Now, the second philanthropist, he found out that these men were drinking horrible water, that a lot of times it was stale, and it had a bunch of germs and stuff in it, that the men were not able to keep it down. A lot of times they were throwing it back up because it was, it was just horrible, drinking water in bad conditions. So the second philanthropist went to the prison and said he would like to provide clean drinking water to all of the prisoners in the prison. And once again, the prison decided, okay, that's fine. If you're going to pay for all of it, you're going to take on all the cost, then that's fine with us. And so the next thing you know, these prisoners had good drinking water, and now they were able to hydrate themselves, and they were feeling a little bit better. But all the time, though, they're still in prison. Now, the third philanthropist was a farmer, very wealthy farmer, and he found out that the prisoners were eating just horrible food. Sometimes it was rotten. Sometimes it had maggots in it. And, these men and these sons were just, super malnutrition. People were starving to death, dying from starvation because the food was just basically unbearable. It was unlivable. And so he went to the prison and said, hey, I'm a farmer, and I would like to donate all of the food to these prisoners, and I would like to feed them good, healthy, nutritious food. And the prison went ahead and went along with it. And now these men had good food. So now they got a nice bed, they got a good pillow, they're comfortable sleeping, they got good water, they got good food. But once again, they're still in prison. And the fourth philanthropist, he went and did something kind of different. He went and he got the keys to the prison, and he went and unlocked all of the cells, and the prisoners were able to leave the prison and have total freedom to never be enslaved again. And folks, that parable, that story is really describing most people's mindset on this earth. It says, so many people are suffering in comfort. Most of the human beings on this earth are suffering, but they're out there striving to get a little bit more comfort. Hey, if I just get this little bit nicer house, then I'll be more comfortable, but they're still suffering in the prison of their minds. And, this story was a story that I heard. I know you guys are going to think this is a huge surprise, but I was listening to some Ed Milet, my favorite guy, and he actually heard this story from a gentleman named Wayne Dyer, who wrote a book called The Power of Intention, which is a book that I've read twice, and I'm on my third time right now. Right now I'm in the middle of 75 hard on day 18, down about a little over 7 pounds in the last 17 days. So that's exciting. Things are going in the right direction. But I wanted to reread this book, The Power of Intention, because I believe that this man, Wayne Dyer, had a massive impact on a lot of incredible people. And most of the incredible people that I follow and that I really love and that I strive to be by have read this gentleman's work and use it to a certain extent. But one of the things that Ed Milet talked about, and it made so much sense, because I don't know about you guys, but when I heard this story and when I understood what it was trying to tell me, I thought, man, isn't that so true? In my own life, I can say that I've been guilty of that. What does living in comfort while you're suffering mean? Well, folks, it means that you're unhappy with what it is that you're doing in life. The way that Ed Milet puts it is, maybe you're living somebody else's dream. Maybe you grew up and because your parents wanted you to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever they wanted you to be, that's what you ended up becoming. And now, yeah, you have a good living. You've got a nice house and you've got a nice car, but you're living in suffering. You're not doing what you're passionate about. You're not living your purpose on this life. You don't feel like you're doing, what God put you here on this earth to do. And so many of us are living, in suffering while trying to, get more and more things that cause us to just live in more comfort while we're suffering. And folks, my contention here today is, why don't we just unlock the prison of our minds and start living in freedom and start living outside of suffering and actually really truly live in bliss and joy and happiness? And folks, I can tell you firsthand that living in joy and bliss and happiness doesn't necessarily mean that everything in your life is, all, as my pastor at church, yesterday said, all rainbows and lollipops. I'll be the first one to attest that this last 3-4 years has been pretty incredibly tough. I mean, for lack of a better word, but what is tough? It's, it's each individual has their own, way that they would describe that word of tough. But in my life, I've gone through a lot of challenges. There's been a lot of things that if I could have chosen them myself, I probably would have chosen to have different things happen than have happened over the last 3 years. Some of them were out of my control. Some of them weren't. But I think what I'm trying to get to, folks, though, is I wake up happier than I've ever been. Yeah, I've got some stress. I've got some challenges. Most of the time that just comes because I'm not having enough faith in God. I'm not trusting in God enough. I'm not putting some of the, we're not designed as human beings to carry all of the weight of this world on our own shoulders. We're not designed to have stress and anxiety and worries. In fact, if I remember correctly, I don't know the exact number of times, but God in the Bible says, do not worry, more than he says anything else in the Bible. And so I'm working hard here to let go and let God. But when it really comes down to it, I am the happiest that I've ever been in so many ways. And it comes because I wake up in the morning excited about what I'm doing. I'm not in a prison of self-made where I got to go do something that I don't want to do all day long to afford some comforts, only to just have to go to sleep and wake up the next morning and go do what I don't want to do all day long again. And so, folks, I'm going to go back to my notes here. It says most humans are living a life in the prison of their mind, and they spend all their time trying to make it a little bit more comfortable. Now, I know that I already kind of mentioned that, but keys to walking out of that prison. So if you're sitting here and you maybe are awareness is so much, it's a half the battle. If you are thinking today because of this story and what I'm talking about, like, wow, I am kind of locked in this prison in my mind. I am suffering through this life in comfort. Then some of the ways that Ed Milet, some of the keys, some of the ways to get through that. And the first one that he mentions, I touched on it a little bit, is your faith. If you really go all in on your faith, whatever that may be for you, you guys all know that I'm a Christian, but whatever your faith is, by really going out in faith and being open to, God guiding your steps. This morning when I prayed, I really asked for God to guide my steps. And I asked him even more specifically to help me to love the things that he loves and to hate the things that he hates, and to pursue the things that he loves, and to change my heart, that if there's anything that I'm pursuing that God doesn't want me to be pursuing, to change my heart. And I've been saying this prayer now for a little while. It hasn't been anywhere near as long as I would have liked for it to have been or whatever, but I'm already seeing little things pop up in my life. Like, one of the things that I've noticed is that I'm starting to get up earlier. So today I got up, 35 minutes before my alarm clock even went off. And I believe that's because God is changing my heart. I know that in order to be the man that I want to be, to have time to work out and take care of my body, and to really give you guys 100% of me, and to really think about and plan out and do good videos, not just turn on the camera and talk for 45 minutes about whatever just pops into my brain and hope that it sounds good. And in order to live a full life and be able to do everything that I'm doing for this channel and for this business and everything, and still be able to treat my wife the way that I did when we were dating, and to pursue her and to show her how much I love her, and to be able to spend good time with my kids, and so on and so forth, that getting up earlier in the morning and giving myself that extra 2-3 hours is so important. And that was something that I struggled with for a long time. And I believe that the reason that it's starting to become more and more naturally is because of that prayer, where I asked God to change my heart about some of the things that weren't serving me. And so, folks, I definitely recommend, if you have a relationship with God and you haven't been praying to him as much, recently, get back in and just have a conversation with God. I don't want to get all, religious on you guys. I'm not religious. I'm a very spiritual being. I don't like religion, but a relationship with God is supposed to be a personal relationship. If you have a mom or a dad that you love and that you have a good relationship with, you talk to them, right? You talk to them probably on a fairly regular basis. When my father was alive, I spoke to him just about every single day. Anytime I had a problem going on in my life, I called my dad and bounced it off of him. I didn't always listen to what his advice was, but I always bounced it off of him. But how many of us go through life? We love God, we believe in God, but yet the only time we really ever go and talk to God is if something catastrophic happens in our life. God wants to be a part of the little things in your life too. And so, folks, I really think that that is one of the first steps into creating this freedom and getting out of the prison of your mind. Now, the second step, and I touched on this too, is find your current dream. So, folks, if I get a little emotional right now, just take it with a grain of salt. But man, I'm so sick and tired of people that are complaining and moaning and groaning about their life, but they aren't willing to do anything about it. Folks, if you hate your job, quit and go find yourself a new job. And you got to quit thinking to yourself like, oh man, but I spent X amount of years going to school and I spent 20 years working as an accountant, or I've been doing this for 20 years and this is my career and blah, blah, blah. Like, folks, if you're living in suffering, if what you're doing doesn't make you happy, then what's the point? Like, seriously, guys, you got to start trusting. I know it all goes back to God all the time, but you got to trust in God. God's provided for you for the last 20 years. You don't think that if you quit what you're doing and move in a different direction that God can still provide for you? I mean, this is the God that created the universe, that spoke everything into existence in 7 days. You don't think that if God's got a different plan for your life, a different calling, something that he wants you to do, and he knows you're going to be passionate about it and that you're going to love doing it, that you're going to wake up with joy in your heart and you're going to be excited to be alive? You don't think that God can bless that, whatever that is, and still take care of your needs? Folks, if you're 25 or 35 or 45 or 51, God has been giving you food and water and shelter your whole life. And, you know, some of you need to hear this. You are not your provider. As much as I love all you guys, and I don't want to offend you, those of you that like puff out your chest and you're all like, I'm the man. I built this from the ground up. I'm self-made. I didn't need anybody else. I did this all on my own. I don't need nobody. You're wrong. You're wrong. And until you realize that every good thing that you have in your life is because of God, and you start and you resist, I'm telling you, folks, it is such a freeing experience. I tell my wife all the time, hey, I know that we've got some things coming up. We're not 100% sure where the finances are coming from it, but I am not your provider, babe. God is our provider, and he's taken care of us every single day, all of our lives. And even though I've had some tough times that I brought on myself, where back in my late teens, early 20s, I had to live in my car for a couple of weeks. I had food, and technically I had a place to sleep, because after my buddy's mom would leave in the morning for work, she didn't like me, and I don't blame her. I mean, here I was, you know, getting booted out of my place, didn't have any money. I mean, probably wouldn't have wanted me to be hanging around her son, you know, or my son when I was that age either in some ways. But anyways, we'd go out till 3, 4, 5 in the morning, you know, just going out and having coffee, chasing girls, whatever. You know, I was never into drinking and drugs and that kind of stuff, but, you know, we'd stay out super late, and then he'd go in and go to bed, and I would go sleep out in my car for a couple of hours outside of their apartment complex, parked where I knew she wouldn't see me. And then when the sun came up and it started, you know, waking me up, I would know that she was gone, and I could go in and I'd knock on his door, and I'd go in and I'd sleep, you know, in his house. And we'd sleep till 2 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon, make sure that we were gone, you know, before she came home. That didn't last a long time. But my point is God took care of me, you know, throughout all of that. You know, there's a lot of homeless people in our towns that manage to figure out a way to get enough food and get enough water to not starve to death. You don't hear a whole lot about homeless people dying from starvation. Well, that's because God takes care of his people. Now, he can't He can't just miraculously, make everybody, a millionaire and have, all sorts of, abundance. If you're homeless because you're too lazy to work and you're not doing the right things in life, or you got yourself addicted to drugs and alcohol or whatever the case might be, you're not going to have the same abundant life that somebody that has made different decisions is going to have. But God still makes sure that you've got food, that you've got clothing, you've got shelter. Is it dirty? Yeah, it might be dirty. You've seen some homeless people, they're looking pretty ragged, but they've got clothes. And God promises us in the Bible that he will give us food and shelter and the things that we need, the clothes on our back. And so quit worrying about that stuff and quit putting all of that pressure on your own shoulders. You are not designed as a human being to have the weight of the world on your shoulders. It is not up to you to be worried about what your wife and your kids or your husband and your kids are going to eat tomorrow. God will provide. He will take care of all of those things for you if you just let him. But let's get back to what I was talking about. What is it in your life that would make you happy? Folks, there's people that go on mission trips, all the time, year round. They're totally dependent upon other people that fund these missions trips. So there's people out there that don't work at all. Now, don't get me wrong. They're out there in the trenches, helping people learn about God. And what they're doing is work for sure. My point is, though, they don't actually even have a job. They're not doing something to create income for themselves. They're trusting God's people, and God's people fund these missions because I'm building a business. I don't necessarily have the desire right now at this point in time in my life to want to go to, Uganda or to go to Africa or go to some of these countries where these missions people are sharing the gospel and living that dream in their life. But I'm happy to fund those types of things. I have a heart for helping those types of people. My point is, the only thing that's keeping you from doing what you want to do, what you're passionate about, what would make you happy, is this prison in your mind. Now, sometimes it's created because of your desire to conform to society, or to worry about what your parents are going to think, or to worry about what your friends are going to think. Can you imagine walking in to wherever you work tomorrow and you tell them, hey, I quit. This ain't what I'm meant to do. This is not what God put me here on this earth to do. So I'm going to quit, and I'm going to jump out of this airplane without a parachute. I don't know what I'm going to do, how it's going to happen, but I know that God is going to, on my way down, I'm going to figure it out. God's going to supply me with that parachute, that everything is not only going to be all right, it's going to be even better than it ever was. You got to remember, what God has planned for you and for me, it's better than what we could ever plan for ourselves, folks. But you have to leap in faith. You have to leap out in faith, man. I went to work for a real estate investor back in October of last year because I needed some cash flow. Crypto was horrible. There was a lot of things going on, man, and I didn't want to spend all of my crypto just to live. And so I got a W-9 type of a job where it was commission based. So I had some freedom. It wasn't just a punch in a time clock. But anyways, I was working with this real estate investor October, November, December, January, February. And it just towards the end, we had some disagreements. It wasn't working out. And it was not time to jump back into crypto full time yet. But I really believed that in order to do what I needed to do, in order to fulfill my purpose in life and to really give this YouTube channel everything that it needed to be given, that it was time to jump out in faith and to trust God to provide. And man, these last few months, there's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs. There's been some times where I've actually, gotten a new credit card to pay for a couple of things that I've, gone into a little bit of debt. But overall, it's been an amazing 6 months in so many ways, but I had to jump out and trust God. By anybody from the outside looking in would have said, hey, you're crazy to walk away from that from that real estate, investor, position that you have. You're crazy to do that, Brad. Right now it does not look like a great time to do that. And so I just want to make sure, folks, that you guys really are understanding this point. If you are waking up in the morning dreading what you have to go do all day long to provide the comfort in your life, then I can unequivocally 100,000% say that you're probably not living your purpose in life. You're probably not living and doing what is going to fulfill your reason for being here on this earth. I don't know what that thing is for you. It's going to be different for every single one of us, but you gotta be willing to have the faith to jump out and go for it. Now, the cool thing, folks, is that most of you don't have to quit your job today and just jump out. I agree. That would be pretty crazy now, but I also agree that if that's what God is telling you to do, I always believe that if you are following God's will and doing what he is speaking into you, he will open doors, miracles will happen, and you will find a way. But I believe that for most of us, doing something on a part-time basis is fine too. So you don't have to go quit your job or whatever makes you unhappy after this video is over. But just having the awareness of it and realizing, hey, yeah, man, like there's a lot of you that are listening to this that are probably making six figures, maybe even 2 or 3, $100,000 a year, that actually have a relatively, reasonable life, especially from the outside looking in. You might be the guy or gal whose family wishes they were you. Man, they get to go on that amazing vacation and he lives in this beautiful house and he's got, 2 nice cars in the driveway, and you might be living a life that other people are actually jealous of, but that you're not doing what you want to do. If you're waking up in the morning and spending all day long to create that life, but you hate every minute of what you're doing all day long just to have those things, that you can have it all. I tell my wife that all the time. We're going to have it all. We can have it all. You just can't have it all right now, but we can be working in that direction, folks. So once again, I would really take a minute or two and grab a piece of paper after this video is over and really write down the things in your life that you don't want to settle for anymore, the things that don't make you happy. And then just by having that awareness and start thinking about what you would replace them with. I'll tell you one of the things that my wife and I aren't happy about. We hate washing dishes. We hate cleaning house. And especially my wife, that most of that gets put on her. I'm busy building a business and working hard, and I'm paying the bills and everything. So most of that stuff is stuff that my wife does. God bless her. But I know that she doesn't like it. So what's one of the very first things that we're going to do when this bull market really starts to hit hard and really starts going? Now we're going to be hiring, at some point in time, probably a live-in, like nanny, a live-in person, that like a personal chef, people that clean and stuff like that. Like I would like my wife to never have to wash another dish in her life. Things like that. Most of us just take that stuff for granted and believe, hey, we got to do it. But remember, folks, most of us probably don't change the oil in our own car. We go to Jiffy Lube, we pay somebody else to do it. And in a lot of our cases, that's a good use of our time, because rather than going and spending all the money on the oil and going and buying the filter, having to take the time to go to the store to do that, then you come home and jack up your car and you get under there, you get all dirty. By the time you figure out how much you spent to do it yourself and all the time that it cost you, and then you figure out how much you make per hour doing whatever it is that you do, you realize you probably cost yourself double what you would have just if you'd have just paid somebody else to do it for you. So I'm huge on that. Like, I'm not going to be mowing my own lawn. I'm not cleaning my own pool. I'm not cleaning my house. I don't want to have to cook my meals. Like, all of those things are something that I can pay somebody else to do that frees up my time to do what I want to do. I was at an event on Saturday with Brad Lee and Andy Elliott, and they were really talking about living a life by design, man. And these guys are heroes in my life. These are incredible men of God. They've got incredible families. But one of the things that I thought was so cool, like they showed up in the morning at the M Resort Hotel and Casino, and they both spoke between about 10 and noon. And then when noon came, they took a few pictures, and then they went out to the pool. Their kids had a nanny, and their kids were with them. Their kids go with them everywhere they go when they travel. They were able to then, from about 1 o'clock in the afternoon until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they had a lunch, and they were out in the swimming pool at the cabana playing with their kids. In fact, I was walking back from lunch, and this big glass windows overlook kind of the swimming pool area, and I saw Andy Elliott out there, ripped, looking good, man, 44 years old, in better shape than most 18-year-olds, in better shape than most people ever get in at 44, that most people ever get in their whole life. And he's out there playing with his kids, having the time of his life. And then he came back in, and they both spoke again towards the end of the event. But then when the event was over, I know that they had someplace special, that they were going, a nice dinner, probably like Anthony's Homeport Steak and Seafood House was there. So they're probably going and having an amazing dinner. And man, living a life by design. This guy just bought, a multi-million-dollar mansion that's got this incredible swimming pool, and it's got a hot tub, and he's got a cold plunge pool, and he doesn't even have to leave his house almost, and he'd be like he was living on vacation. And that's something else that Ed Milet talks about. Like, he says he doesn't take a lot of long vacations because he doesn't want to lose momentum. But this is a guy that had a multi-million-dollar mansion on Laguna Beach where he could literally, off of his backyard, he could walk down right onto the beach, right into the water. He owned an incredible home. I want to say it was Lake Coeur d'Alene in Idaho that was right there on the water. You could walk down, had a dock with, his ski boat and Sea-Doos and all of that kind of stuff. Now he just bought a place out in Florida. I want to say probably Palm Beach, but he bought a place in Florida. Same thing, right on the water. When he's outside on his patio, he's literally could throw a rock and hit the water. And at any time he wants, he can run down and jump into that beautiful, warm Floridian water. Now, he still takes vacations and does stuff too, but he said, why not just buy places where you feel like you're on vacation? And, he owns an island. He owns a place now called Hope Island out towards the coast, out off of Boston. I forget, Rhode Island, or out there in that area. He bought an island. And he goes out to his island, and he's got horses. He's been learning how to ride horses for the last couple of years. He really loves riding horses. He plays golf. I mean, just a life by design. His life might not be your life. It sounds pretty good to me. Him and I align a lot, but maybe you're the guy that you don't want a place right on the ocean. You want a place in Tennessee where you've got a couple 100 acres and you got ponds swimming through it, and you can go fishing in your own pond, or you can go, hunt deer when you want to during the season, and you just want to be 100 miles away from civilization. You don't want to be around people. Maybe that's paradise to you. Whatever it is, I'm here to tell you, folks, you can have it. The reason that you have those dreams, the reason that you want those 20 acres or 100 acres or 200 acres, the reason that you want to be out there fishing and doing that is that's something that God has put in you. The dreams, I'm a firm believer that most of the dreams and stuff that you have, they're partially from ourselves, but I also believe that a lot of our dreams and the things that we want out of life are given to us. They're instilled in us by God. And if God gives you a dream, he's not a mean God. Like, who of you that has kids and loves kids would put something into your kids' head that you knew they couldn't do or that they couldn't get? Like, how many of you would tie your kid's favorite candy bar from the ceiling and hang it down where you knew that they couldn't get to it, and they just had to sit there looking up at it, wishing that they could get it? I mean, nobody would do that. I mean, you might do that for a TikTok video, for a joke or something, but no real parent that loves their kid is going to put this dream, give this kid, hey, this is something that you ought to strive for, that you want to have, that you ought to try to do, and then make it impossible for him to do it. And God loves us even more than we love our kids. God loves us even more than our parents loves us. He's a good God, so he's not going to give you dreams and aspirations that you can't go out and get if you are willing to put the work in and do the things that need to be done in order to get them. So something else that Ed Milet said that I really like, and that I really want to touch on for a quick minute, is total freedom is total commitment. And I love what he says about that. He says, a lot of people are afraid to totally commit, because if they totally commit, it almost feels like the opposite, like total commitment is not freedom. But he really explained it so eloquently. Like, if you just halfway commit to your relationship, that's slavery, that's bondage, that's not freedom. But when you totally commit and you just go all out, like my wife and I, we're married. We're going to be married for the rest of our lives. We are committed that no matter what we go through, no matter what challenges life throws at us, no matter what, we're married. We didn't get married and just to give up on it because it got too tough. We didn't get married to give up on it because we've had financial problems. We didn't get married to quit on it just because it didn't go exactly the way that we believed it should have went, or the way that we thought it was going to go. We're totally committed, and total commitment gives you freedom. Same thing when you're creating a business, or you're jumping into a job, or whatever it is that you want to do. If you're working somewhere and you're not committed, you're just halfway committed, you're just going through the motions, that creates bondage. That's not total freedom. But if you go head first into whatever you're going in and you just do it, that creates freedom. I'll tell you a quick story. Also, something that I did over the last few years is I was selling solar. And one of the ways that we got leads for solar was door knocking. We just go knock on a person's door. When they answered the door, we would talk to the homeowner and give them our spiel and set an appointment to come back with a energy savings report for them. Well, folks, the first couple of days that I was doing this, brand new to me, a little uncomfortable. About every 10 or 15 minutes, I had to talk myself out of quitting, to be fully transparent. I literally would go knock on a few doors, get some unhappy people, or just, hadn't set an appointment. This was a business where if you went out and knocked on doors for 8 hours, there's a pretty good possibility that you would get maybe 1 or 2 people in 8 hours that would agree to let you, take a picture of their meter and look at their electric bill and come back with an energy savings report. So you're out there for 8 hours. On a really good day, you might get 4 or 5 people. So there's a lot of time where you're not getting any results. And anyway, so for the first couple of days, I was spending so much time battling with myself, talking myself out of quitting. And then 15 minutes later, thinking about quitting again and talking myself out of it, that it was most miserable couple days of my life in a lot of ways. It was rough, man. I ain't going to lie. It was rough. But I had a mindset change about the third day. I was out there. I was probably about an hour in, and I literally, things weren't good. I went and I found this bench by this pond. This housing complex kind of had this pond, and there was a bench. I went and sat on this bench, and I really just had a talk with myself. And I said, Brad, quit or don't quit, but quit screwing around and fighting with yourself over which it's going to be. If you want to quit, go home. I was literally flew to Texas to do this for a couple of weeks. It was a couple-week blitz where I flew from Vegas to Texas to work with this company. So go quit. Go tell them that you don't want to do it, that this ain't for you, and get on a plane and go back home. Or do it. But if you're going to do it, do it. Quit fighting with yourself. And I tell you what, folks, I made a decision right then on the spot that come heck or high water, no matter what it took, I was going to do this. And it was such a liberating moment, folks. It was such an amazing moment because guess what? I spent the rest of the day knocking on doors with a good attitude. There was no thing in the back of my mind. I wasn't quitting. I decided I wasn't quitting. So now I didn't have to fight about that. I didn't have to fight with myself. Then have to expend all of that energy trying to decide what I was going to do. And so, folks, I'm telling you, total commitment, making a decision. I'll see if I can explain this correctly because I love this. Another guy that I really love, Myron Golden, talks about the difference between a choice and a decision. Most people go through life making choices and they never actually make a decision. Well, what's a choice? Well, a choice is I'm going to choose to do this today. I'm going to choose to do that tomorrow. I'm going to do that the next day. I'm going to kind of go in whatever direction the wind blows me. I'm not going to work out today because I don't feel like it, but I'm going to work out tomorrow. I'm going to choose to work out tomorrow because I feel a little bit better. A choice basically is you have two things or more, and you're choosing which one of them that you want to do in the moment. A decision is actually the root of it, and I'm probably going to get this wrong. I've heard him explain it a few times, but I don't have it memorized. But the word decide basically means to cut off, to die to any other possibility. And when you decide you're going to do something, there is no other choice. There is no other path. Like I decided I'm doing 75 hard. I didn't choose to do 75 hard. I'm in a group for 75 hard on Facebook, and it drives me crazy where people are like, well, I failed on day 13 because I didn't get my second workout done. And I'm like, dude, like the only rule for 75 hard, it doesn't matter if you're up 20 hours to do the task. So it's not like say you wake up at 8 a.m. that you have to have everything done by midnight or something. You literally, as long as you do your second workout before you go to bed, it counts. So what I can't understand, I don't understand these people where it's 2 o'clock in the morning, something happened. I understand life happens. They let life get away from them. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. They got to work at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning. And so they say, you know what? I guess I'm just going to have to fail on 75 hard this time around. I'll give it another try, again in a few days or in a few months. Horseshoe drives me crazy, folks. Like I have failed 75 hard a few times, but it wasn't because I made a decision to fail. Like I forgot to do something. And I woke up the next day and I was madder than a hornet's nest at myself because I forgot to take a picture, or I realized there was one time where I take 4 bottles of water to go work out with outside. And I only drank 3 bottles, but I didn't realize it. And so the 4th bottle was sitting out where I work out. And I went through the rest of my day. I drank my other 4 bottles of water. I had my gallon of water in. I went to sleep. Everything checked off on the app, feeling good about myself. And then the next morning when I went outside to work out, there was that bottle of water. And I knew, oh, crap, Brad. You got to start over on day 1. But that's different than literally sitting there and going, well, I'm tired, so I'm not going to read the 10 pages in my book today. I'm not going to go ahead and do my outdoor workout just because it's gotten a little bit late on me and I don't feel like it. I got to work in the morning. Like, folks, you got to decide, and then you got to follow through. And when you decide something, you got to go for it, man. You just got to go for it. You got to do what it is that you decide. But just remember that in your awareness, there's a huge difference between the word choice and the word decide. And so I would implore all of you to really do some soul searching, figure out what it is in life that you really want, and then make decisions to go get them. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't decide on a course of action and then that's just going to be a perfect straight path. What that means is when you decide on a course of action, you can almost count on the fact that it's not going to be a straight path. I was listening to a guy yesterday that talked about when you create a business idea and you start creating a business, 99, not even 99, 100% of the time, it's not going to go like you thought it was going to go. You're going to make course corrections. You're going to choose to do something, a little bit different. You're going to do, you're going to try to implement, one type of sales funnel, and then you realize that it doesn't work. You're going to, a lot of different things. You're going to hire somebody that you think is perfect for this position, and then they don't turn out to be perfect. So when you're on a business journey, an entrepreneurial journey, a cryptocurrency journey, for those of us that are on this channel that love crypto, it is not going to be a straight line. Like, I don't care, once you decide and you're laser focused, you're going to, maybe you're going to start off investing in XYZ and ABC and DEF tokens. And then something's going to happen where one or two of those goes out of business and you got to pivot. You got to go do. But the end result, you decided that you're going to create financial freedom in your life through cryptocurrency investing. That doesn't change. But maybe the path, the way that you get to that financial freedom in cryptocurrency investing, that might change multiple times. So I'm not telling you that you just got to decide and that's it, and just die. Like, if you might decide to do the wrong thing sometimes, well, that's okay too. At least you made a decision. And if you're powerful enough and you're willing to go through whatever you got to go through, even in that wrong decision, the road that you find and that you travel will lead you to the right decision. But you got to decide. Famous story. I don't know if it's true or not, but I actually believe that this is a true story, where there's a famous back, hundreds of years ago, where these guys traveled to a new country in a boat, in boats, in ships, and, to go conquer this new land. And when they got there, and they pulled up onto the shores, all of the men jumped off the boats, and the captain, the person that was in control of everything, the general, ordered his men to burn the ships. And they all wondered what in the world he was talking about. Why would we burn the ships? And but he made them do it. And then he told them all, hey, folks, we got one of two things is going to happen at this point. We're either going to win or we're going to die. And folks, when you put your back against the wall, I've never, Andy Elliott said it so great. He said, I've never seen a man or woman that is willing to put their back against the wall, to have no place to retreat to, that comes out fighting, that hasn't won. I've never seen it in my life. And he dared us to go be the first person to prove him wrong. And I agree with him. I've never seen that either. Have you ever seen a man or woman whose back is against the wall, that has no other choice but to come out swinging and fight for what they want in life, ever fail? It just doesn't happen. You get to that point in your life, good things are going to happen for you. Let me see. So, I talk, awareness. Awareness is half the battle, folks. And what this awareness is, listen to me, please. This is probably one of the most important things that I'm going to say for the whole talk. 90% or more of what you believe, 90% or more of what you do in life, the way you are in life, folks, is not a choice that you actually made. And you're like, what do you mean, Brad? Well, I'm here to tell you that, unfortunately, most of the person that you are, most of the person that you've become, most of the things that you do, most of the food that you like, most of the TV that you watch, it all was ingrained in you by the time you were about 6 or 7. I like to say it the way that I heard it was, all of these things were basically imparted on you when you were helpless and you couldn't defend yourself. Now, I'm not saying that all of those things that got imparted on you are bad. I think that most of our parents and most of the loved ones in our life had good intentions, but there's so many times when our loved ones imparted their own self-limiting beliefs on us when we were defenseless to defend ourselves. So being aware, like, why do you like your steak medium rare? For lots of people, it's because that's who their favorite parent liked it. And that's how it got made for them. If you don't like Brussels sprouts, there's somewhat of a possibility that maybe your parents didn't like Brussels sprouts. I grew up eating Miracle Whip. We had Miracle Whip in my house. I didn't like mayonnaise the first time or two that I had it. I thought it tasted weird. I liked Miracle Whip, but I didn't like Miracle Whip because I chose Miracle Whip. My parents chose Miracle Whip for me. That might seem like a silly example, folks, but I'm telling you, if your parents had financial struggles and didn't have abundance, and you heard your parents talking about rich people are greedy, or, hey, money doesn't grow on trees, and man, we can't afford that. And just over and over and over, hey, man, you got to go to college and get a good education and get a good job, get a career, man. Brad, that's what you got to do. Go to school, work hard, get good grades, go to college, get a good job. Where did that come from? You weren't at 7, 8 years old thinking to yourself, yeah, man, I want to go have a job where I work 40 or 50 hours a week for somebody else for the rest of my life. That was not your idea. Folks, I'm here to tell you that if you're not aware of it, most of the stuff that you're doing in life is stuff that was programmed into you when you were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old and defenseless to defend yourself against it. Now you've got some defense. If somebody came up to you and told you something stupid, you would know that that was stupid, and you'd be able to reject that. You'd be able to tell them, no, that's dumb. You're wrong. But folks, when you were 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, you didn't have the ability to do that. You didn't know any better. You were just a little vessel, and people were filling that vessel, and you didn't have any control over how that vessel was being filled. And most of us 30, 40, 50 years later are still being controlled and held back by those things that happened to us when we were too young to defend ourselves against them. So folks, awareness is half the battle. Now that you've heard that, and if you really internalize it, and if you really take it to heart, start thinking for yourself. Start thinking about some of the things that you learned as a kid that you're realizing as an adult just aren't true. Yeah, they had good intentions. They loved you, but they're not true. Maybe they thought they were true, but they're not true. Folks, I don't care how many times your parents told you 5 plus 5 is 11. It ain't true. And so many times in our life, that is what has happened to us. And you're rolling along at 25, 40, 50, 60 years old, wondering why your life isn't working out the way that you wanted it to. And you don't even realize that it's all because of stuff that happened to you before you were 7 years old. It's crazy when you start to think about it, that you right now are where you're at in life is mostly because of things that happened to you and things that you learned before you were even 7, 8 years old, before you were old enough to defend yourself and actually choose for yourself. I love Myron Golden says, he says, thinking is one of the hardest things to do in life, which is why most people don't engage in it. And what he means by that is really, truly thinking for yourself and really thinking about what it is in life that you believe and whether or not it's really true. And does it serve you? Does what you think about life and to think about the things that you're thinking about, does that serve you? So often in life, Ed Milet says, what would I have to think about this in order for it to serve me? So for instance, when my father passed away, there was 2 ways that I could take that. I could just be upset about it and frustrated and mad at God. Why did this happen? And really, use it as a opportunity or an excuse to go in the wrong direction in life. Or I could look at it and say, hey, how does this serve me? What do I need to think about this event that just happened in my life? The most horrific, horrible event that has ever happened to me. One morning I woke up and my dad was there. I was able to give him a big hug and love on him and talk to him. My best friend in the whole world, my hero, the guy that quit drinking, a couple months before I was born, spent 50 years of his life being sober, the most incredible human being that I've ever had the pleasure of knowing on this planet. And one day in an instant, he's taken from me. what did I have to think about? What would I have to think about to make that a positive situation? And I started focusing on, hey, how can this be positive? Well, the first thing I thought about was, you know what? He's not on this earth anymore. He doesn't have to go through any more trials and tribulations. He doesn't have to go through any more suffering. He doesn't have to go through his body getting old. He's 81 years old and he's got creaks and pains and stuff, and he doesn't have to go through any of that. Another blessing is he passed away in just a moment. He had a heart attack and was gone. That was such a blessing for him. My mom, on the other hand, unfortunately got cancer, and it was a long, drawn out, miserable battle. And I would never wish that upon my dad, even though for me, I got to say goodbye to my mom. I was prepared. I understood it was coming. And that was easier on me than my dad just being here one day and then being gone the next. But it was so much better for my dad. And so I focused on that. And I focused on the fact that I'm going to get to go spend eternity with him in heaven whenever God's time for me is up on this earth. But it also motivated me to make sure that I was the kind of man that my dad would be proud of from up in heaven. That anytime I think about quitting, anytime I think about throwing in the towel, anytime this is getting too rough, this is too hard, and I just don't feel like I can do it anymore, I just don't want to do it. I don't want to get up and get on this and make a video for you guys. Well, what does that have to do anything? Your Father in heaven is sitting up there wanting you to be the best man that you can be. And so I turned that tragedy into fuel to go do the things in life that I believe God wanted me to do in life. So there's so many things in your life, even all these financial, there's a lot of time over the last couple of years, especially about a year or so ago, when I really was looking up to the sky and going, God, why? Like, I tell you, not to get off on a tangent, but I was told, and I kind of believe it, although it was something else that I was told, and I don't know if it's true, but it was told to me this way: like, if you've never had money, then you don't know what you're missing. So it's not that hard to go through your whole life, broke. Because that's kind of what you were used to. Maybe you were broke growing up. Your parents didn't have a lot. You were kind of used to being broke. And so being broke is something that you're used to. It's just part of the deal. It doesn't bother you. But I can tell you, when you've gone from being broke and then gone to being rich, and then you go back to being broke, it ain't any fun, man. It's a lot tougher because you remember what it used to be like to go into the grocery store and just buy whatever you wanted to buy. You remember what it was like to go to the restaurant and just order whatever you wanted to order. When things were going really well, we went on 4 or 5 vacations in 2021, and for a decent portion, of 2022, because the market was headed down, but hadn't really gotten crushed off. But there was a time where, through a combination of having no more inflow and having lots of outflow and enjoying life, and then having my assets that I was using to enjoy life with start getting smashed off by 75, 85, 95%, where there was some really challenging times, and it wasn't any fun in the moment. But you know what I learned? I very much believe that everything is happening for us, and that I am going to be able to help tens of thousands, maybe millions of people over the course of my life that have had that frustration. That, I know most of us, a lot of us in crypto, didn't really get rich during our first bull run. Some of us might have got enough money at some point in time. We were looking at a computer screen where we felt like we were rich, but we didn't do the right things with it, and it disappeared almost as quickly as it had appeared. And that's part of the reason for this channel. One of my goals is to make sure that your wealth that you're creating during this bull market doesn't disappear on you during the next bear market like mine did from the last, bull market. But all of those things were something that I'm going to be able to pay it forward. My father, because he was an alcoholic, was able to help other alcoholics. I've mentioned it before. Like, I don't ever really try to help, alcoholics, because I've never experienced it. I never was an alcoholic. I never had a dependency upon drinking. But somebody that's been dependent on alcohol and drugs and that's kicked that habit, that's overcome it, has the ability to help somebody else walk through it and navigate, through that jungle. So I'm a firm believer that the challenges and the things that I'm going through in my life, even right now, after I turn off this camera today, I got work to do. I got things that I need to do. I got bills that need to get paid and things going on in my life that I won't bore you with. But I promise you, I'm not just sitting here with my feet kicked up in a virgin pina colada in my hand, living life. I'm working harder right now than I've probably ever worked in my whole life. But I'm also the happiest that I've been in my whole life, and the most grateful that I've been in my whole life, because I know that God is preparing me for the next level and for the next things that he wants me to do in life. So hopefully this was helpful to you folks, man. I can't believe it's over an hour. Holy smokes. I never even got over to the comments. I love each and every one of you. I hope that this was great for you. I do want to say, good morning, good afternoon. Tim G, thank you so much for being here. Folks, those of you that are on here that are in the Infinite Crypto Inner Circle, we are getting to work. One of the things that we're doing today when we hop off of here is we're going to be starting to get logins and passwords to you guys so that you can jump over into the Mighty Network plan. So Tim, Eric and Deadwood and all of you that are part of the Infinite Crypto Inner Circle, get ready to get migrated over to the Mighty Networks. I think you're going to love that platform. For those of you that are not in the Inner Circle yet, why not? I'm telling you, this Inner Circle is absolutely incredible. One of the ways that you change your life, and one of the fastest ways to change your life, is to get around other like-minded individuals that are moving in the same direction as you. Yeah, you can watch a YouTube video like this, but it's not the same as being on a Zoom where you actually get to see Tim's face, and you get to see Eric's face, and you get to see Deadwood's face. You get to see Dave P's face and all of the other amazing people, and you get to hear what they're doing in their crypto journeys, and you get to have them ask me personal one-on-one questions and get my answers to them. And we're going over yield farming for the Aerodrome platform, and just so many different things that are going to be in that private platform that are going to propel you to where you want to be so much quicker. I know people say, Brad, I don't have $97 a month. Folks, that's a limiting belief. That's baloney. I guarantee you can find $97 a month. And right now, we actually have a promotion going on where you can get 2 months, your first 2 months, for 50% off. So if you're going to sit here and tell me that you can't get $50 together, then I'm going to tell you, you probably don't have much of a chance of becoming a successful cryptocurrency investor. If you can't get $50 together to propel your future, to get around excited, positive, uplifting people that are moving in the right direction, to do something that's probably going to 5 or 10x your portfolio. I believe in with all my heart that any of you lone wolves that are out there trying to do it on your own, compared to getting into a community like mine, we're going to do 5 or 10x more than you probably do lone wolfing it. So how much is that $50 a month actually costing you? And folks, give up the McDonald's once a week. Quit buying Starbucks. Like if you drink Starbucks and you're telling me you can't be in the Inner Circle, you're kidding yourself. If you smoke cigarettes and you're telling me you can't be in the Inner Circle, you're kidding yourself. Folks, you are wasting more than $50 a month in just about every single person's case, even in mine. I know where I'm wasting money. Yesterday, I almost went out and ate and had a $50, $60 lunch with my wife. And then we looked at each other and we were like, why? We just went and spent a couple hundred grocery shopping. Why to go spend 50 or $60 on this stuff that's going to pull us away from our goals? It wouldn't have been the unhealthiest food in our life, but it was going to pull us away from our goals. It was going to be $50 or $60 that we didn't need to spend. And I guarantee that a huge portion of you on this call, maybe not every one of you, but most of you are wasting $50 a month. If you're not a multi-millionaire, you're not living the life of your dreams, why are you watching TV? Seriously. Like if you were sitting on your couch yesterday yelling and screaming at a screen all day, rooting for some people that are carrying around a little oval ball, but you're not a millionaire. You're not living the life of your dreams. You're going to a job today that you hate, but yet you spent all day yesterday yelling for some men that are running around that couldn't care less about you. You got to think about that kind of stuff, folks. Am I a weirdo? No, I mean, like, I've had a TV in my life, but do I watch it? Not a whole lot. I do relax with my wife a little bit. She enjoys TV, and so we have a couple shows that we watch, but do I watch it compared to what average people do? Absolutely not. And I could probably live without it altogether. Like, I don't want to watch other people on TV living their dreams. I want to live my dreams. So get rid of Netflix. Get rid of your network TV. You don't need 4, 5, 7, and 13. Like, literally, I haven't had cable TV for years. I do have Netflix. I do have Prime. But, like, I can watch what I want to watch. I don't need to spend $100, $150 on Cox Communication in order to have TV. So, folks, this might sound kind of harsh, but it's not for my benefit. Man, yeah, that $48 a month, that $97 a month, it helps cover some bills. And, as it grows, when it gets up to several hundred members, yeah, it's going to be a pretty cool income stream. But I'm not talking about it for my benefit. I promise you that the inner circle is going to benefit you way more than it benefits me. And it's also going to benefit your mindset. If you don't want to get into the inner circle, don't get into the inner circle, but get into somebody's circle. Get into somebody's mastermind. That's fine. If I'm not the one, you don't want to be in mine, no worries. But get into somebody's. Guys, I'm telling you, Dan Fleischman, $200 a month. Lucas, I can't think of his last name, $97 a month. Craig Siegel, $97 a month. Like, I am spending hundreds of dollars a month. I went to an event over this weekend, cost me $800 for me and my team to go to. Right now I'm in the process. There's a event in October 4th and 5th out at Andy Elliott's Lion's Den. It's $1,997. I'm figuring out a way to get myself to it. So I practice what I preach. There's a guy out there named Myron Golden that's got a $55,000 a year coaching program. One of my goals is to get into that. So here I am dreaming about giving another person 55 grand so that I can be in his coaching program, because I know if I give him 55 grand, he's probably going to help me make $500,000 or $1 million over the next year that I wouldn't have made. So if you're worried about $50, you ain't dreaming big enough. So with that, the link is in the description. Go click on realinfinitecrypto.com and go get yourself signed up for the Inner Circle. There's a coupon code right on the website where you get 50% off your first 2 months. And we're going to have a Inner Circle Mastermind Saturday morning, August 24th at 10 a.m. You'll also be able to go in and listen to all of the recordings of the previous ones, but live Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have our next Inner Circle Mastermind, where if you're a part of that group, you can be on it live. So with that, folks, have an incredible Monday. Dave P., thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you, man. Streghart, I love you, brother. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you very, very, very much. Paul, hey, Paul, my friend. How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Paul is an incredible member of the Infinite Crypto Inner Circle. Looking forward to seeing you on Saturday, Paul. Good morning, Eric. Man, I tell you what, this guy is such a giver. He helped me on this health journey. We haven't been in touch as much recently, but every time I'm out there working out, every time, I did about 100 squats yesterday, Eric, and in my mind, when I was doing the squats, I remember you telling me about my form. Hey, keep your feet about shoulder width. Keep your back, your head up. I remember you telling me make sure that you push through the balls of your feet. And I did about 100 squats. My legs are good and sore today. But man, this is an incredible man, an incredible giver that got on and spent several hours with me, helping me in the beginning of this journey. I just wanted to thank you again for that, and appreciate you. Let you know that things are definitely headed in the right direction. And I still do want to spend some more time with you. I want to learn some more from you. I know you're available. It's just a matter of me getting in touch with you. So I look forward to spending some more time with you soon, Eric. Deadwood. Good morning, my friend. Also, another one of the most loyal and contributing community members of the whole channel. Just an incredible giver always talking about new tokens and new opportunities and putting in the work. This guy right here, I guarantee you that come the end of this year is going to have enough money to do whatever he wants to do in life. He's going to have choices because he's putting in the time and the work right now. And I appreciate you, Deadwood. I do. Anybody else in the chat that I'm missing? Yeah, Vanesh. Thank you for being here. God bless you, my friend. I love you. I hope you're having a fantastic Monday. If it's Monday, it might be Tuesday by now for you. I'm not sure if you live on the other side of the pond or not, but it's possible that it might even be closing in on Tuesday for you. And so, with that, folks, I think I said, hello to all of you that took the time to be here and that commented. And so with that, go enjoy the rest of your Monday. See you Wednesday on the crypto microcap crypto Wednesday live stream, and hopefully we'll see some new people on Saturday, man. I'm looking forward to getting that email notification that you guys went and joined the inner circle. So God bless you all. Have a fantastic day, and we will see you again very, very soon. Take care.